attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how Portugal Telecom transformed its customer service with BPM. My name is Reintjan Holterman, Chief Editor, BPM Leader, and I will be your host for today. In this webinar, we'll have 3 speakers. We are delighted to have with us today Gonçalo Mendes, Head of the Excellence Unit at Portugal Telecom. We also have James Luxford, CTO at PNMsoft, and Vasileios Kospanos, Marketing Manager at PNMsoft. Before we start, 2 brief practical notes. This webinar is recorded and will be made available afterwards through bpmleader.com. And secondly, you are all muted to have optimal sound quality. In case you have a question, you can type it in the question box at the right-hand side of your screen. At the end of the presentations, we will then try to address these questions as much as possible. And now, without further ado, let the BPM story commence.
So first I would like to do an overview of today's agenda. Please let me see the next slide. First we'll talk about the goal of this project and our major point on mail shops. Then I will explain what is Shopbox, and the Shopbox is the output of this project. And finally we'll talk about the results. Next please. Presenting myself, my name is Gonçalo Mendes. I am leading the Excellence unit on the retail of Portugal Telecom. On this unit, we are responsible for implementing new processes or new information systems on mail shops. And I am on the business side, so this presentation will have its focus on non-technical issues. Next, please. The goal of my unit is 100% focused on client satisfaction. As the slide says, we want to convert problems into smiles. Since Portugal Telecom is a large company, sometimes this goal is not very easy to achieve. And there are several projects that intend to achieve the same goal. However, today we'll talk about one of these projects that we called Shopbox. Next, please. Now, a brief history so you can understand our major points. And first we start seeing what is Mail. Mail was born from a merge of different enterprises. Portugal Telecom was the Portugal Telecom incumbent company. SAP was the enterprise to supply internet access, and TMN was the enterprise for the mobile solutions. Today, all the companies are merged into MEO. MEO is now a global telecommunications and multimedia operator based in Portugal. The company's activity extends across all telecommunication segments, from fixed lines to mobile, multimedia, data, and business solutions. Okay. Next, please. And how the merge was implemented on our stores. We had different processes and different information systems on each company, and we just add all that on the point of sale, incrementing the complexity and the need of know-how of the staff member. Next, please. And the final result was more than 30 different applications on the point of sale, more than 400 different processes, and the staff member completely out of their minds. And since the merger, it existed several efforts to simplify Portugal Telecom internal processes. However, on the point of sale, since we are face-to-face with our clients, we need a specific tool to route the staff members through the workflow, minimizing the need to querying our internal knowledge base. Next, please. So let's see what is Shopbox. And the next one, please. Shopbox is a framework to help the shop staff members to attend mail customers. Shopbox was designed to be similar to the voice of the clients. So how this works, staff member has to choose the business case that brought the client to our store, and then they identify the customer through our CRM. After that, they receive basic information of the customer, and based on this data, the BPM engine will walk through the staff member to the solution. This is done interacting with legacy systems and through web services or through application front ends. The interaction with the front ends are done with a tool of Microsoft called CCA, Customer Care Accelerator. Next, please. Let's see some examples of Shopbox. Unfortunately, they are in Portuguese, but that's how Shopbox works. On the orange zone, you can see basic information of the client, namely the average bill of this client, the average consumption of mobile data, the average minutes of voice, and so on. And on the green zone, you can see the issue that brought the client to our shop. This is the zone where the staff member should interact with Shopbox. Next, please. As I told you, Shopbox can interact with our legacy front ends. On this screen, you can see Shopbox interacting with our CRM. On those cases, the BPM engine commands the Microsoft tool to show or even to execute some tasks on the front-end legacy system. Every time that the legacy system is shown to the staff member, it will appear on the right screen and with the correct customer context. And as I told you, we have too much applications on our stores, and we spend too much time just copying, doing copy-paste of the client ID through the different application. On the red zone, there is always an instruction to the staff members so they know what it must be consulted or what must be done on each step. Next, please. Why we decided for the PNMsoft BPM? Firstly, because of the compatibility with the Portugal Telecom architecture that is based on SharePoint. Secondly, because we had to have a tool that was able to interact with front ends, and the PNMsoft BPM was compatible with the Microsoft CCA. Next, because of the usability of the BPM engines for a non-technical user, and further on we'll see why this is an important issue. And finally, because of the ability to see and measure what each person do on each step. This information has a huge potential to improve our workflows. Next, please. So, how did we implement it Shopbox? We are using a virtualized environment to run Shopbox client. This client runs on a Windows server that is virtualized. On this way, we can guarantee that everyone on our 26 stores runs on the same environment with the same configurations. Okay. As we talked before, based on the comments of the BPM, Shopbox will interact with legacy systems, and it can interact through two different ways, or by front end through the Microsoft TCA. On this case, the Windows server is the Windows server that calls the legacy system, or by web services. On this case, all the web services are concentrated on our internal enterprise bus. Next, let me try to explain how did we implement it and how we are maintaining our 400 workflows. On this project, there are two teams involved. The first team is a technical team. During the project phase, the technical team was Accenture. Today, the technical team is formed by persons from the PT IT department. Okay. This team is responsible to deliver artifacts, and the artifacts are sequence workflows that can be web services calls, can be front-end interaction, can be a group of action only on sequence, or can be a mixture of all these cases. So this first technical team delivers and maintains the artifacts that exist on Shopbox. And then there is a second team. This second team is a non-technical team. It receives the artifacts. This team knows how to handle the client, and based on with this know-how and with the 92 artifacts that were delivered from the technical team, they designed the workflows. Okay, so all our workflows are designed from a non-technical team. So next, please. Let's see some results. And the next one. Today we have around 6,000 clients every week that are being looked after through Shopbox. Okay. Next. The major result is the reduction of time to look after the customer. This reduction of time have theoretical savings of around 24,000 euros every week. However, we have still implemented Shopbox on 20 shops of our mail shops. On all our shops, we handle around 50,000 clients every week, so Shopbox could have an impact of around 240,000 euros per year. Okay. Next, please. However, we still have a long way to go. The workflows were implemented based on the processes before Shopbox. We have all our processes on an internal knowledge base, and we implemented those processes on Shopbox as they were on the knowledge base. On the knowledge base, the processes were designed to minimize the complexity on the point of sale. As we already saw, it exists too much complexity for the staff member. Now we can improve our processes to optimize the time with the client, producing savings on the shop's operations, sorry, or we can optimize our processes to enlarge the front office resolution, delivering more client satisfaction and producing savings on the back office operations. Or even better, we can have two versions of the same workflow and let the BPM decide which version should be used on waiting time, or based on waiting time of the store, or based on the history of the client, or even based on the know-how of the operator that is handling the client. On the other hand, as I told you, Shopbox is only on 20 of our 260 stores. On this stage, we have still to increment the number of staff members that use the Shopbox. And finally, we are still having a significant amount of errors that we must reduce. So plans for the future. Next, please. We want to reduce the amount of errors until September. We want to achieve the 2% of errors. We'll expand Shopbox to all shops until the end of this year. And finally, when Shopbox will be a stabilized framework, we want to implement it on other units on Portugal Telecom, like call centers, back offices, and so on. So that's it. Hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and I'll pass through.
Thank you very much, Gonzalo. This is Vasilios Kospano speaking, Marketing Manager for PNMsoft, and I will just talk to you a bit about us. I'll keep it short, I promise, and then I'll pass you to our CTO, James Luxford. We are a BPM software vendor headquartered in the UK with offices in North America, Europe, Middle East, and a global partner network. Our product, Sequence, is the leading Microsoft-based intelligent BPMS on Gartner's Magic Quadrant. We're customer-centric BPM experts experienced in delivering global process automation projects for our customers. Every large organization has many business processes, but not all business processes are the same. Some of these business processes are fairly standard and don't change often. Other business processes are unique, differentiated, and change daily with things like resources, skills, priorities, and so on. We call these hot processes. PNMsoft has an intelligent BPMS suite called Sequence, which is architected to optimize the cost of transaction of hot processes. Our customers are large, complex, leading organizations and trust our technology and services to optimize their operation and to differentiate. In Sequence, you can create process applications for your business on a visual canvas in a low-code environment. You just drag and drop objects to model your processes. Once you create your process models, you can then automate them, integrate with your other mission-critical systems, and digitalize your processes to improve customer service experience, reduce operational costs, and gain competitive advantage. You can finally optimize your processes with the use of analytics and collaboration between your team members. All of these are supported by our evolutionary BPM methodology, which is our spin on Agile, Scrum, on a low-risk, fast results approach, which we call small steps, big change. Lastly, we are fanatical about exceptional customer service, and these are just a few of our customers. So without further ado, I'll change the presenter to James Laxford, which is PNMsoft CTO, and he will provide a short demo of Sequence. James?
Okay, thank you, Vasilios. And thank you, Gonzalo, as well, for that great look at what you're doing with Sequence. So hello, everyone. I'm going to give you a little taster for Sequence, IBPMS suite, and how you can use it. There are many ways you can use Sequence, but here we're going to focus on the way that Portuguese Telecom have used our product, by being able to have a set of artifacts that are already created and they can be reused many times, meaning that whether it's a process template, a form template, a piece of functionality, we can build it once and reuse it many times. So I'm going to build a little process for you just to illustrate that, just very quickly introduce you to some of the highlights of Sequence. Sequence has a number of user interfaces. We have a SharePoint portal, as we're looking at here. We have a non-SharePoint portal if you want to use your own portal technology. We can surface tasks through email, through our HTML5 mobile portal, to allow users to work in the way that suits them at the time that they are doing the job. So a very flexible, very easy to use environment for the end users. But of course, the key to being able to make it very easy to use is how you can configure your processes. So that's what I'm going to focus on for most of now. If you'd like to look at more details about our runtime, we do have a lot of details on our website. So feel free to go and explore that. But I'm now going to take you into our administration environment and show you how we can configure a process. For the purpose of today, I'm going to create a very simple purchase request process where someone within your organization may need to purchase something and they will fill in a Sequence web form, submit that. It will then go to their manager, and we'll show you how you can easily do that, sending a task to a specific person, specific role within the organization. And then we'll also look at, well, how can we possibly reach out to an ERP system to perhaps submit the purchase request? How can we call a piece of functionality to perhaps submit the purchase to our CRM system? All capabilities that you don't need to be a developer to do. It's by reusing artifacts that have already been created and being able to make most of those. So hopefully you'll get a feel from what I'm showing you. Just like for Portuguese Telecom, some time has been invested in creating those reusable artifacts. Once they're in place, the business analyst, the business user can quickly create their processes. So the first element of reuse with Sequence Kinetics is our processes. Any process that you can create can then be reused as a template. So you can make a copy of a process and you can then tailor that to meet your specific needs. A very quick step to do. I won't show it here today. We're going to start within our App Studio where we configure our processes, and I'm going to start with a blank canvas. So our App Studio, as Vasilios mentioned, allows us to be able to create our processes in a graphical environment. We're going to model the process, but we don't then need to take that process and translate it into an executable form. This is where the process is executed as well. So we have one version of the truth. This is where we model the processes. This is where we can show, if we need to show an audit trail, this is the process that is also executed. So let's have a look at what we can do in this environment. First of all, we have our swim lanes showing who the main actors within here are going to be, and we have our requester, and we have a manager, and we have our ERP system, and I'll add our CRM system in here. And I can then add my steps to the process within here. So as I mentioned, we're going to start it with the requester needs to start the process by filling in the purchase request form. So we can just click on our form activity over here, and that will put my form activity onto the canvas for me to then drag and drop it to where I want to. And we can then start configuring the process. Just to make it clear what we're doing, I'll add the other steps first, and then you can see the full process, and then we can come back and we can start pulling the details. So we're going to have a form here, and this would be our submit purchase request form. We're then going to send a task to the manager of the requester, asking them to approve the purchase request. Oops, if I could spell. Now, of course, we need to check they have approved it. And if it is approved, we're going to submit to the ERP system. And we're going to do that through a web service call. Don't be afraid about calling web services with a sequence. It's very easy to do. We can wrap this up in other ways so that it's you'll see when we submit to the CRM system, but we just want to show you here the capabilities of even calling web services is easy to do with sequence. Submit purchase request. Let's do submit PO. And then finally, we are going to submit an order to our CRM system. And we're going to do that using our subflow. We already have a process in place that does all of that for us. All we need to do is just call it, and you'll see how that then works. Order. And then I can link my process together. Very linear process. We can put extra loop backs in, so if, for instance, if it's not approved, we may want to loop back and so on. But I'm going to keep this very simple just for the purposes of our demonstration today and keep things fairly tight. So I can make it all look nice and pretty by moving items around and so on. I can resize. It's a very nice environment to use. It's an environment that business users can understand as well as the process developer themselves. So first of all, let's have a look at this form. We've got several options here. Now I can start creating the form from scratch if I don't have a form already. And I can do this by first of all laying out the look of and feel of the form and then deciding what data fields I'm going to have on it. Or I can do it the other way round and create my data fields and then automatically create the view. If I am going to create it from scratch, we can define sets of templates that have different look and feels, different layouts, and you can create these and publish them to Sequence so you have a nice standard set of forms across all of your business process applications. Or if you already have a template library of forms, as I have in this environment, we can reuse those, whether that's in the form layout itself, or as we have here, we have an example. This is available on our member site for any PNMsoft customers. We can have a look at some different templates that we have. So we already have a purchase request. So there may be many processes very similar throughout the organization where you need to use a similar purchase request form. We create it once and we can reuse it multiple times. So I just click finish. Sequence will now create me a new form based on that template. Very quick and easy to do. I don't have to do much work at all. Just take a few seconds for that to come, and then that will show me the form when it pops up. I can then tailor the form to meet my specific requirements here if I need to, or I can just take the form as is, as I'm going to do now. So here's our nice looking form, very rich form. This is our UX Studio. Very easy to add extra fields here, edit this form. if you want to. So that's my purchase request form created. I can now go ahead onto the next step and decide, okay, I now need to send a task to the manager for them to approve this step. First thing that I do with that is decide, well, what message are we going to send to the manager? Whether that's through email, through a portal, through their smartphone, whichever channel they may be using at the time. And we can define the subject, just request approval required. And within the message, I can include as much information so that when the manager receives the message, they know exactly what's happening. Please approve purchase request. And within my process, you'll see down here we have our process data model. Every step in the process appears here, and any, say, fields that I put on here are then available to me in order to be able to add to my message. So we may want to say date ordered as our first field. I just click on this field here. I can go through here, let's say shipping information. I want to put the address on. Whatever information I may want the recipients, who has ordered it. That can be in here. As well as using the data within the process, I can also use the metadata. So here I've got who actually created this particular step in the process. So I may want to include that person. When did they create it? How long did it take? Has it been completed? And so on. So this can be a very rich message. I'll only put a couple of fields on here, but hopefully you'll get a flavor for you can have very rich messages going to people so they understand what's happening. We then need to decide who we're going to send this task to. I can send it to a named user, I can send tasks to departments, and it can be queues within departments, load balanced teams, lots of different ways we can assign work. In this case, what I actually want to do is send this approval to the manager of the person that submitted the request. So we have a set of process roles in here, the people that did those steps. So the person that submitted the purchase request is the creator of that step. So I can select that role and then say, okay, within that person, let's have a look to see for other roles within an organization structure, such as within that person's team, who's the manager. I don't need to worry about who the manager is at this point. I just select that and Sequence will take care of the rest for me. Lots more of options, but that's our message created. We're now going to create the form for them to give their approval. I'll make this a very simple form using one of the templates that we had before. So let's just create a very simple form. And so here is the template. I can come in here, I can make lots of changes, I can add fields here. So we're just going to put an approval on here. And I can put a drop down on here. I can connect this up. We won't do that for now. We can come back if we've got time a little later. I can connect this to a table that shows approve decline, or I may want to do it as radio buttons. Let's just put some comments on here. And I may want to put a text area on here to allow the manager to give some comments, and I can resize it nicely. It's very easy to connect to that process data model just by adding a new field in here. That's all that I need to do. Sequence will take care of the rest for me. Now I may also want to include some information on here showing all of the details about the purchase request. We have some very nice views capabilities where you can create a view on one step and include that later on. Another way that we can do it is through our tabs. So here within a form, I can just add some other forms that people have already created and include them. They're available to the user, as simple as that. So the manager here will have a tab that will show an exact read-only version of the purchase request form. How quick would that have been? We can then come in here. In fact, let me go back in here. I hadn't connected the combo box up because we are fairly tight on time. What I'm going to do is let's just have a little checkbox in here, just showing how we can, let's have approved. So the manager just clicks whether they approved it, leave it blank if they don't approve it. So now in my business rule down here, we call this an if-else activity, I can now decide, are we okay to proceed? Has the manager approved it? Here we're just doing a very straightforward comparison. That's all that I need to do. I find the field within my process data model for whether the manager has approved it or not. If they've ticked it, it'll be true. Validation, make sure that I've got everything right. Sequence is happy. We can then move on. And that will then decide, okay, if it's true, we'll follow the path down here. Now, very quickly, I've only got a few minutes left, connecting to a web service. Sounds a little scary, perhaps? Not with Sequence, because what we can do here, once you've connected to a web service once with Sequence, you don't need to go through connecting to it again. You can reuse the connections, and we've already got an ERP web service that we've connected to. And I click Next. I then have a little screen that tells me all of the options that I have. We want to submit a purchase order. And then we have the details here of what that web service requires. And I can come in here and I can submit, okay, the requester was the person that it was created by. Let's put that display name in here and so on. We can also put the approver in. So here I'm using some of the metadata. I can use the metadata for the person that completed this form. It's actually updated by. Put that display and so on. And I can go on and fill out all of these fields and just click Finish once I've done that. That's all that I need to do to call a web service. Similarly, if I've got some functionality in another process, very easy to be able to call that. So here we're calling another process. I can select from all of my processes everything that I am interested in. I can select that process. I then have within the process I'm calling all of the fields that I can pass to it. And I can then set up a field for who it's coming from. And over here, so the name could possibly be the person that's submitting it. Let's again use the name of the requester over here. Now, of course, I won't go through everything because we'll be here for quite a while. And I know we need some time for questions, but I can put display name in here, for instance. And I can go through all of those. We can then call the process and then pass any information from the process back up to my parent process. But that's job done. I can then test my process, but here we see we've created forms from form templates. We've created web services from connections we've already made. We're submitting processes to CRMs using processes that have previously been created. We don't have to keep creating them each time. So very quickly I can have a 4-step process there mocked up within the time that the webinar allows me. If we have more time, we'd go on and we'd run it. We could show you how we can use our analytics dashboard to be able to create some processes. In fact, very quickly, I'll just show you, because that is worth just a quick 2 minutes. So we can create analytics dashboards, real-time dashboards that can be used to see, well, what's happening within my process. And this view that you've seen many times, I can select what fields I'm interested in, all of the details within here. I can make these available to me within data fields. Let's just add a few on there, reference number, charge to. I can build up as many of these, the date ordered, charge to. Oops, already got that in there. I may even want to put some metadata in as well. And I can come through, I can set up dimensions, which are how I'm going to filter my dashboards. I can then create my visuals, which are my nice pretty graphs and charts that allow me to then be able to have some real-time dashboards that will show the managers, the people running the operation, exactly how their process is performing, and optimize it, identify where we've got bottlenecks, where we can improve the process, and then go through, as Vasilius mentioned earlier, improving the process. Okay, that's enough from me. Hopefully that gives you a feel for the experience that Portuguese Telecom went through in order to be able to create their processes, be able to create lots of processes very quickly by creating a set of reusable artifacts that can then be used within their processes. Okay, over to you, Vasilius.
Thank you very much, James, and thanks to everyone who has joined us from all over the world. I'm very impressed that even in Australia at 10 o'clock in the evening, people tune in to check out Gonzalo's stories and James' demos. So without further ado, we'll take a few questions. I've seen there are several. So we'll try to tackle as many as we can today, and the ones that we won't have time to answer, we will contact you by email. We've got your details, and you can also contact marketing@PNMsoft.com if you have any follow-up questions. So we have some questions, if we take them in order of the way they came in. So Jose or Jose is asking Gonzalo, from where did you start? From a corporate business objective or from objective process by process?
Okay. We started implementing our process from the most used process on our stores to the less used processes, and combining this with the more complex ones that were important to the store to have it on the Sequence or on Shopbox.
Okay. Second question, did you use a corporate process architecture from added value chains until executable tasks, or were you more focused just on modeling at execution level?
Okay. Our approach was to modeling based on the microprocesses. What I'm meaning is that we design all the process from about selling equipment, then we design all about selling services, and so on and so on. And we modeled that based on our workflows that were on our internal knowledge base. Okay, and that's how we implemented or how we transpose our knowledge base to Sequence.
And I think these questions, there is a third question. It was partly answered by your slides, but I think there were people joining in later on. They might have missed it. So the third question is, what kind of measures did you use? Times, costs, quality, volumes? How can you assure that PT is having savings? And are you comparing with an old situation? And if that is really comparable, the old situation with your new situation?
Okay. Basically, we are measuring two things, time and quality. I show you time, and we are comparing the time that we need to handle the client, and we are comparing the staff member that are using Shopbox and staff member that are not using Shopbox. So we are really comparing actual situation with actual situation. And I think those two are comparable. talking about the quality, I didn't show you this item, but we are measuring the number of times that the client needs to interact with Portugal Telecom or with MEO to solve its problem. And we also have some results that when we are using Shopbox, we can solve it at first time more times. We can achieve this goal better with Shopbox than without Shopbox.
Thanks, Gonzalo. I think I have one for you here, James. From a perspective of a fresh customer, are there any form templates which come out of the box, which a customer can use on day one of purchasing the software?
Yes, we provide a set of form templates and also of some example processes as well that you can add to Sequence and, yes, get you using straight away.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think the other questions are related to the recording, which we will send you afterwards, and the slides. So we will email these to you in the next few days. At this stage, I would like to thank you all very much for your time. People from the UK and the United States, from Argentina, Brazil, Malaysia, Australia, and Portugal, of course. Even though many processes share similarities, we understand the uniqueness of every one of you. So schedule today a BPM workshop with our expert consultants where they discuss your unique requirements, showing you how these work within your environment, and then making recommendations. So contact us at marketing@pnmsoft.com. Thank you very much for your time and have a nice day.